Welcome to the CyberLife webinar on the 7th edition of the Cybersecurity Survey of Proximus Next. My name is Bastiaan Germs and I'll guide you through the key results of 2026. Before we dive into the results, I'll say a few words about the methodology we used for this survey. And after the results, I'll share our conclusions. So let's start with the methodology, which has changed compared to last year. For this 7th edition of the report, we've changed the survey method from an online survey to telephone interviews by Ipsos. This improved the quality of the answers provided, as it allowed us to eliminate any unclarities in the questions or answers. The target audience didn't change. In February 26, Ipsos interviewed 304 respondents from different sectors in Belgium. They were mainly CIOs and CISOs or in another function responsible for cybersecurity. And now let's take a look at the results. Our first key takeaway is that 1 out of 5 organizations have experienced a cybersecurity incident in the past year. An incident means that there was a successful cybersecurity breach. We've seen a positive declining trend over our past surveys. For comparison, in 2021, still 1 out of 3 organizations experienced a cybersecurity incident. The number of attempts is higher, of course. On average, 57% of the organizations experienced an attempted cyber attack. As this graph shows, the frequency of attempts and incidents increases with the organization size. An attempt occurred in 51% of the organizations with 10 to 49 employees, 77 of those with 50 to 199 employees, and 92% of organizations with 200 or more employees. As a result, the occurrence of cybersecurity incidents is also higher at larger organizations. 53% of the organizations with more than 200 employees experienced an incident, compared to 20% on average. Social engineering remains the dominant attack vector, closely followed by malware and ransomware. When we look at the successful attempts, we notice that device loss or theft is by far the most occurring incident. This high occurrence of device loss or theft is one of the main drivers for the impact on financial costs of a cybersecurity incident. A lost or stolen device has a direct financial impact, as the device needs to be replaced. For all cybersecurity incidents, 59% of the respondents reported financial costs due to a successful cyber attack. When we exclude device loss or theft, only 42% of the respondents report a financial loss. Reduced productivity is reported by 29% of the respondents. In 1 out of 6 incidents, this even led to employees being unable to work. Fortunately, in most cases, this was a small number of employees, and they were back in business within 1 day. As second takeaway, we see the positive trend that an increasing number of organizations has a cybersecurity strategy. In this year's survey, 74% of the respondents have a cybersecurity strategy in place. We see that most respondents cover all important functions of a cybersecurity strategy. This is also a positive trend, as in previous years, we saw that prediction was not properly covered. There is a clear shift away from a focus on protection only. showing that zero trust really has become the standard in cybersecurity. The cybersecurity strategy does reduce the risk of a successful incident, but it does not prevent it totally. 70% of the organizations had a strategy and experienced an incident. One domain that still needs more attention is cybersecurity awareness within the organizations. 43% of the companies with 10 to 49 employees do not organize cybersecurity awareness campaigns at all. While cybersecurity awareness is one of the key elements in protecting against AI threats, as we'll discover in the fifth key takeaway. As our third key takeaway, we see that organizations still struggle with a lack of cybersecurity expertise in their organization. The trend is positive though. In 2023, still more than half of the organizations reported a shortage. Now only 1 out of 3 perceives a lack of cybersecurity expertise. External studies, such as the 2026 Cybersecurity Workforce Research Report of SANS, show that the shortage is now less about the number of qualified people and more about having the right skills. When it comes to filling this gap in cybersecurity expertise, we notice that organizations larger than 200 employees rely more on internal staff, while organizations with less than 200 employees rely more on an IT partner to monitor their cybersecurity. Our fourth key takeaway addresses the NIS2 regulation. 15% of the respondents state they need to comply with NIS2 regulations, but only 5% fully complies right now. Awareness of the NIS2 regulation is much higher in larger organizations, with 72% of 500 to 200 employees and 89% for 200 plus employees, compared to just 28% in smaller ones. Organizations with 200 plus employees also need to comply with NIS2 regulation more often, in 53% of the cases, than smaller organizations with 10 to 50 employees, only 9%. This is not a surprise. The NIS2 regulation applies to companies with 50 or more employees or 10 million euro revenue in critical sectors such as energy, transport, healthcare, digital infrastructure, banking, and government. Our fifth and final key takeaway concerns AI. 1 in 4 organizations has updated its cybersecurity strategy due to recent AI developments. AI is a double-bladed sword. It brings more productivity for the employees, and it allows cybersecurity solutions and experts to improve the cybersecurity defenses and bridge the cybersecurity expert shortage. However, attackers also apply AI in everything they do, introducing more and faster attacks. And AI is a new attack surface on its own, with data leakage, manipulation of large language models, and prompt injection as examples. We see this reflected in the updates of the cybersecurity strategy. Most organizations have added strategies to protect against AI-related attacks, but this is also closely followed by using AI in security, especially in larger organizations. Still, many organizations have not changed their cybersecurity strategy based on AI. There is still a huge gap between the use of AI in organizations and the number of organizations with an AI policy or AI awareness campaigns. AI use is widely permitted in all sizes of companies and used in 4 out of 5 organizations. But the policy frameworks are clearly lagging behind. In organizations with 10 to 49 employees, less than 1 out of 3 organizations has a policy framework on AI. This brings us to the conclusions of this year's survey. Our 7th annual cybersecurity survey shows that cyber resilience is more than ever a strategic responsibility. Fortunately, most organizations now have a strategy in place. And most of these strategies have fully incorporated the zero trust concept. To become resilient, a holistic approach is required that integrates people, processes, and solutions. And it has to have a broad coverage of prevention, detection, response, recovery, compliance, and continuous improvement. And lastly, our survey shows that cybersecurity is not a destination, but an ongoing process. Both NIS2 and the rise of AI have forced the respondents to review and update their cybersecurity strategy and policy. This concludes this month's Cyber Live. Thank you very much for attending this webinar.
Proximus Next. Inspired by tech, driven by people.